This program is made possible by the Heinz Endowments and the Pittsburgh Foundation. Additional funding was provided by these organizations and by the generous support of individual donors. Glossophobia. You might not have heard that word before, but odds are pretty good you have experienced its meaning. Glossophobia means a fear of public speaking, and psychologists estimate 75% of the population has that fear. Even if you don't plan to become a professional public speaker, you will need to speak in front of groups in a variety of situations in life, such as making presentations at school, speaking well in a job interview, making speeches at family events, supporting causes you care about, and even just having the confidence to share your opinions in everyday conversation. So we asked people who speak in public all the time to share their tips for overcoming stage fright. They're professional broadcasters, and here's their special report.
I'll tell you guys how I get rid of anxiety before a presentation. This is going to sound really simple, but shaking it out actually helps. Talking about dancing, right before I go on air to do a live shot, I play music in this little earpiece right here called an IFB. I look like a total fool while I do it. It's only 2 to 3 minutes, but I don't care because I'm in my zone, in my element, and I'm trying to get myself prepared to hit the air. Researchers actually say dancing does help. It's all about the influence that the body has on the mind. As you're focusing on these dance moves, you're actually forgetting about all of these external stressors that are bugging you out about this presentation. Once you're done, you're going to have an instant confidence booster and you're going to rock it. I promise.
There's no shame in having stage fright when it comes to speaking in public. In fact, science shows it's actually part of normal human evolution. Our brains developed to react to threatening situations, including confrontations with other human beings. It's part of our body's natural fight or flight response. That's why stage fright includes physical symptoms like a pounding heart, tense muscles, trembling, and a dry mouth. The good news is that anxiety can be turned into positive energy for lively public speaking. Here's more advice about managing your physical response to stage fright.
As a TV news anchor and reporter, I talk to a camera every single day. But you don't get the reaction from the people behind the camera watching on TV like you do when you give a speech. I gave commencement speeches in high school and college, and thinking about seeing the people react to what I say as I said it kind of freaked me out. So here's what helped me. Perfect practice made perfect, of course, whenever I was actually giving the speech. I knew it inside and out. But when I got up on the stage, I didn't make eye contact with a single person in that crowd. Look at their forehead, pan across the room, but don't lock eyes with anybody. That way you can focus on what you are saying instead of what they are thinking.
The most important advice I can offer you is to have confidence. Believe that what you're saying is the most important thing your audience will hear all day. Knowing that you are the person they came to see, and knowing that you are the center of attention in the room, it may sound selfish, but that builds confidence. And when you're confident as a speaker, no matter what you say, it comes across as authoritative. It comes across as informational. It comes across as an expert. So be confident. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Don't worry about how it's going to come across. Know your subject, know it well, express it, and get to the point. Confidence is the most important thing a speaker can have and will make you an effective speaker, whether you're in a room of 10 people or a room of 1,000 people.
Hi, I'm Sally Wiggin, retired from WTAE, talking about stage fright. I've been lucky. I've never really had it, but I do get nervous sometimes if I'm speaking to a crowd and there may be some famous people in the crowd or some professional athletes. And the way I deal with that is to pretend that I'm talking to one person. It may not be somebody in the audience, but somebody that I know well. And I'm talking to them, but I look at the entire room and I move my eyes around, but in my head, I'm talking to that one person to whom I'm close. The second thing I do is I make sure I'm prepared. If you are a little bit nervous, being prepared will help you a lot. Memorize your script if you can, so that if you do lose your place in your notes, then you can just wing it. And it's so much easier that way. The other thing you do is say something self-deprecating when you get up there at first. Making somebody laugh, and especially laughing at yourself, eases everybody, and it makes it a much better way to start.
Speaking to a group is a great way to educate and motivate an audience. But research shows people who are confident speaking in public also experience plenty of personal benefits. They earn higher grades in school, have an easier time building friendships, and they experience faster career advancement. I like to use a technique that gets me calmed down right away, redirecting. The hardest part of a speech is at the very beginning, when our hearts are racing and our breathing is shallow. So what I like to do is start a speech, give the first line or two, and then I turn the focus on the audience. I ask them a question. So for instance, if I'm giving a speech on stage fright, I might ask the audience, how many of you have experienced this? Or has this ever happened to you? What that does is it gives me a chance to pause, to take a breath, and to focus on what I'm doing. And it also gets the audience on my side. I hope it's a technique that works for you. You've heard words of wisdom from several professionals who've been where you are and have given you simple techniques to try out. So we hope these work for you. Please go out and use them, and good luck on your next speech. Once you've conquered stage fright, the next step is to focus your message so you can educate and inspire your audience.
We're talking today about how to make a great speech. There are some major points which I absolutely want you to keep in mind when you make a great speech. The first, of course, is my main priority is to look at you. Connect with your audience. No matter what your message, eye contact is very, very important. It engages your audience. They feel really good about you looking into their eyes. They feel invested in your message. They feel really good about your message, and you connect directly to them. My next big point, speak about what you know about. Passion translates into energy. It translates into good information. When you're emotional about a subject, you pull an audience in because they're invested in what you're saying, and you are giving them the energy. They know, they feel your energy about that subject. The next big point, focus on your message. This is really key right now because at Luminari Speak and Tell, we tell all of you, when you make a speech, you're conveying information, you back it up with the facts. A big part of making a great speech, of course, is doing the research about your topic. And then you convey that topic. We like you to build supporting points, 3 supporting points, by focusing on your central message and supporting it with those facts. I also want you to know your audience. After you know your central message and you have your supporting points, know who your audience is, because it's really, really important. You may have to tailor your message to a specific audience. Let's consider an example. Let's say you're speaking to an audience of parents, your mom and dad, okay? We know that they care about you and they care about kids. So your message would be very, very tailored to that audience. My next big point, posture matters, okay? Shoulders back, stand up straight, feel confident. I wanted to tell you a little story about a young man who I helped with a speech once. He gave a speech, but he was slouched over. He read everything from the paper. People weren't paying too much attention. And you know why he did that? He did that because he was nervous. So guess what I did? I took the paper away and I said, you tell me the message without the paper, okay? He did great. And I'll tell you why he did great. Because my second point to him was, you know what? No matter how big your audience is, no matter if you're talking to a camera, no matter if you're talking to 1,000 people, in your mind, when you give a great speech, you know what you have to think of? You're talking to one single person. just one. That brings you confidence. That gives you all the courage to make a great speech. That's when you stand up straight, and that's when you feel confident. When you're talking to one single person, you won't be nervous. And before you make your speech, it would really be really good for you. Breathe through your nose, out through your mouth a few times, just to feel comfortable, okay? But make sure you remember, you're talking to one person. It's gonna help. The next important point, speak clearly. Sometimes when we get caught up in information and we get caught up in making a speech, we want to get it over with right away, which means we rattle through it and we talk so fast, and then that's when we make mistakes. Another big thing when you're making a speech is, see this paper right here? Sure, you can rely on it because you're conveying a message. You can rely on it, but not too much, because you never want to lose your audience by continually looking down. And by the way, if you're reading from a paper or just speaking to you and you flub a word, don't you worry about that. You just keep moving, because your audience is forgiving. Your audience understands that we're human beings. We're gonna make mistakes, that's life, just keep moving. One more thing. We talk so much at the podium here today. Is it okay to leave the podium? You bet it is. Especially when it relates to questions and answers, okay? A lot of times after your speech, people have a few loose ends. They want to ask you some questions. Come out and greet them. And I can go on and on. You know why? There's so much more information about making a great speech. That's why I'm glad you're here. That's why I'm glad you're listening and learning. And you can go to the Luminari Speak and Tell website for much more information. You know, at Luminari Speak and Tell, all of our programs, we train you to be a leader. That's why I can't wait down the road to hear your speech, to see your speech. Thanks so much. You're gonna be the next leader, and I can't wait to see your great speech.
Did you know there are over 6,000 languages spoken around the world today? In our increasingly global society, speaking multiple languages is a great asset for public speakers and student leaders. Take a moment now to consider learning a new language with this fun introduction to the most commonly spoken language on the planet, Chinese.
I would like my students to know that this language is not so hard as they picture it. And this language is not for the smartest person in the world to learn it. Actually, everybody can do it. So if you think about a human baby, when they were born, they listen first, then they learn to talk back, remember those times? And then they will start to read before they go to school. And then they will learn how to write starting first grade. So this is my order from listening, speaking, and reading, then writing. So once they know that they can listen to me, they can try to understand me, and they can actually speak at the end of the presentation and give them the boost on the confidence level. And everybody can do Chinese. The most difficult part to learn Chinese as a foreign language, I personally think, is the speaking part, because Chinese is a tonal language. Chinese, we have 4 tones, or some people will say 5 tones. So it actually will be going up, down, up and down, or flat.
饺子、面条、汉堡包，他也喜欢汉堡包。我们去拿吧。好。
In tonal languages, that you actually need to do that for each word you say.
红色、蓝色、绿色和黑色。你喜欢什么颜色？我喜欢红色、蓝色、绿色和黑色和白色。
If you get the tone wrong, it definitely had come up with a different character, different meaning. So for example, ma, M-A, the sound sounds like ma, but if you put it a flat tone, it's ma. This sound will give you a mother meaning. But if it goes up, ma, that will give you the nam meaning. If you go down and up, ma, this character will give you horse. And if it goes down, ma, then it will give you the yelling, scolding, not so good. It's awkward in the beginning, but once they get used to it, actually they can speak very authentic Chinese with the tones. Learning to write a Chinese character could be very challenging. So they learn about the strokes and they learn about the characters. And Chinese actually is very logical. And it's a picture. So most of my students would say, I'm drawing Chinese. And I would say, no, this is not drawing. This is called writing. And I would tell them the story. How does this one come to this way? And they will remember the story as they write the character. The character I, 我. Okay, so the 我, I am the first person. And ancient time, if you are survived of the nature of the animals attacked, you can proudly say, I am the one speaking. So this word character is a person, with a hand holding a spear. So that is the story for the students to recognize, and there's a spear on the right hand side. So this character together makes 我, which means I, and they will be able to repeat and writing it and thinking about these fun stories I tell them. Of course, I would introduce them some of the fun thing about writing, because Chinese writing is an art, and we would do calligraphy to let them experience what is the life like in ancient Chinese when we are not using pen and pencil, we're using pen brushes. They do know the story behind that, and that's the fun part of learning this character. If it's not fun, I don't know who is gonna do the learning, and since it's so difficult. I think that foreign language could teach us a lot of not only the study skills, your study strategies, also their life lessons. The more you understand other people's language, you could bridge the gap, the different cultural differences. And I remember the most famous quote from Nelson Mandela is that when you talk to a person in the language he understands, that goes to his head. But if you talk to a person in the language that he knows, his own language, then that goes to his heart. My final advice for people who are consider taking this language, first I would say break your stereotype thinking. In Chinese is hard, but not that hard. I like to do immersions because I believe that learning a foreign language, the environment is the most important factor. Create for yourself some speaking environment. For example, there are many YouTube videos, short clips, there are Chinese music, if you like certain artists.
你喜欢什么树？我喜欢大大树。你喜欢什么车？我喜欢大大车。你喜欢什么学校？我喜欢我的学校。
Talk to people who knows how to speak Chinese. And if you making this speaking part of your daily life, you don't feel like you're learning Chinese. You actually feel like you're enjoying Chinese. And I think the aha moment is what I value the most. And they would start to figure it out, and they get it. And I think if you get it, you make connections at the end, this knowledge is yours to keep forever.
No matter which language you're speaking, body language matters. Discover how gestures and facial expressions can help you emphasize your message and connect with your audience.
This segment is about body language, which is so important. You already know what you're going to say. You have it all down in your mind, but that's all happening up here, inside. What we want to do is talk about how important it is what you do with the rest of your body, because the key is it makes other people feel more comfortable, and the more comfortable the other person is, the longer they will listen to you. They want you to be comfortable, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to practice some things to make them think that you are comfortable, even if you're not. First of all, if you're a little nervous and you're backstage, or maybe you're in a room by yourself before you go meet with someone for an interview, or you in front of a lot of people giving a speech, if you feel nervous, sometimes people want to tense up like this. At least I do. So a good thing to do is to stomp your feet a few times. Not hard, just a little bit. It kind of helps your body relax. Another great thing to do is roll your shoulders, if you want to try that with me. It feels good anytime, but it also helps you kind of look more relaxed right before you get up to give your speech. So those are two really important things to do to help you feel more relaxed. So let's start from the feet and we'll go up, talking about the body. First of all, where do you put your feet? Just stand hip distance apart. That's fine. That'll be nice and comfortable. And one thing that I think is really important for you to practice and to know is it's okay to move a little bit. You can shift your weight a little bit. It makes you look more comfortable, certainly makes you feel more comfortable. It also makes you look more in charge. If you've ever seen somebody talking and they're just standing like this and not moving, you might think, oh, they're nervous. And that might make you feel nervous for them, and you don't want to listen. You're just wanting them to hurry up and finish. So you don't want that. You want to stand comfortably and feel free to shift just a little bit if you need to. Maybe once a page, once every other paragraph. That's a good rule of thumb for that. Don't lock your knees. I know you probably have already heard that, but don't stand really stiff. Some people have a really hard problem with that. So again, feel free to move around and shift a little bit. Wear comfortable shoes. That always helps too. Next, let's talk about your hands and your arms. So this is the tricky part. When I first started anchoring the news, I was so nervous. And the shot and the camera was about here up. So I thought nobody can see my arms and hands. Nobody knows what I'm doing. So I did not move them. And my news director called me in a few weeks after I started and said, it looks like someone has tied a rope around your arms. You're not moving. And I thought, I guess people realize that I'm not moving because they can kind of see that. So I look like I was just tied up. So here's what you have to do. You have to move even if you don't necessarily want to or think you need to. It makes you look more comfortable. So here's my suggestions on that. Every other sentence, you can make a small gesture. Just as something small like this. It makes you look comfortable. You can put your arms down, one hand up. Again, maybe once a sentence, if it's long enough, once every other sentence, that's good enough. Don't overdo it. I have a tendency sometimes to start talking with my hands, and you probably know people who do this, and that's distracting. One thing you don't want to do is be distracting because people are looking at you. You don't look comfortable at all. So you want to think, first of all, of kind of small movements, small gestures. But maybe once a paragraph, you want to do something large. If you are giving an impassioned speech about something that's really important to you, you might want to do something like this or something like this, but don't overdo it. The best way to do that is just record yourself and see if you feel like you're overdoing it. Again, small gestures are great. Every sentence, every other sentence. Save large gestures for once a paragraph or so. That's a good rule of thumb. Again, everything is kind of subjective and you can do more or less depending on the topic of your speech, but I don't want you to overdo it, thinking that you have to move around a lot, because what you really want is people to listen to the speech that you've taken so long to prepare. That's what's really important for you. All right, so we've talked about shifting your weight every once in a while, gesturing small gestures, maybe a large gesture every once in a while. Now let's talk about your face. Again, what you're thinking about, at least for me, is I'm thinking about all the stuff that I've prepared and I've memorized my sentence and I'm trying not to think. So number one is my eyes. I have a big problem with this. I don't really have to blink. Some people blink a lot. I don't have to blink at all. So when I first started anchoring the news, I never would blink. And I look like a deer in headlights. And believe me, everybody I work with let me know. Blink. Second, look pleasant, okay? Nobody wants you to be angry, even if you have an impassioned speech and you're mad about something. My thought process on that is if you look angry, you're going to make me want to move back a little bit and stop listening, and I can't wait till this is over. If you have a serious topic that you're impassioned about, look concerned. There's a big difference between looking angry about something and looking concerned. When you present a topic to another person, or maybe something that you're impassioned about with a job interview, you want to feel like you're concerned about something, that you've thought it through, and that you're not going to cause a problem. They don't want you to rush off the stage. They want to hear more about what you're saying because you're concerned about something. So practice looking concerned. Again, there's nothing wrong with looking pleasant. There's nothing wrong with smiling. People love it when you smile. Again, that all depends on the topic that you're presenting, but hopefully you'll find a bright light in whatever topic you're talking about, and you can present a smile because people really respond well to smiles. Again, blink when comfortable, move your head when comfortable, look people in the eye. You can look down every once in a while because you don't want to just look at them and stare at them and make them feel uncomfortable. Have you ever talked to someone and they just stare at you and look at you and you just feel like, oh, please take a break? Yeah, I felt that way with people talking before. So feel free to look down sometimes or look up if you're talking about something. If you're in a big crowd of people, you can scan the audience and look around as you need to. And the great thing about that is you don't have to make direct eye contact because you're so far away and there's so many people. They're not going to know if you're actually looking them in the eye. So just feel free to scan around. But if you're in a small group of people, like a job interview, for instance, you'll want to look around at every person in the eye, but feel free to look down if you need to, look up if you have notes. There's nothing wrong with glancing down at notes. A good key for glancing down at notes, if you have a lot of numbers, it makes the audience feel more comfortable. If you're double checking to make sure you're right, it makes it look like you have prepared. And it's also just a casual thing to do. You've got this, you're relaxed, this is your home, you feel good, you can look down and keep talking, even if you don't really need to. There's nothing wrong with that. It makes you look prepared and confident. So all of these tips about body language are really important, again, to make the other person feel more comfortable, because the more comfortable they feel about you, the longer they'll listen. And that's the key. You want to be not distracting at all with your body language to distract from all of the effort you've put into your speech. I hope this helps.
Download free lesson plans to be used with this program and explore more educational videos and camps that broaden minds and inspire young people by visiting us online at luminari.org. This program is made possible by the Heinz Endowments and the Pittsburgh Foundation. Additional funding was provided by these organizations and by the generous support of individual donors.